In the previous apocalyptic cold era, I accepted the advice of my neighbor I had lived with for 8 years, shared supplies with her, and got through the hard times together. When the temperature reached its lowest point, she stripped me naked and pushed me out of the door. "You are younger than me, you should go out to find rescue supplies so we can survive." I finally froze to death outside. When I opened my eyes again, I was back 3 days before the arrival of the apocalyptic cold, this time. It's her turn to go out and find rescue supplies, isn't it? I suddenly opened my eyes, and the supermarket freezer lights hurt my eyes. The cashier in front of me impatiently asked me, "Madam, are you going to buy it?" I looked at the frozen dumplings in my hand, which were priced at 19.9 yuan, and the ice crystals on the packaging made me shiver. I'm not dead. I quickly took out my phone and saw that the screen showed December 25th, 2035, at 3:27 p.m. At this moment, I was certain I had been reborn. 3 days before the arrival of the freezing apocalypse, memories came rushing back. In my previous life, the freezing apocalypse suddenly arrived, and the temperature dropped to 70 degrees below zero within 48 hours. I followed the advice of my neighbor Nix, who I had lived with for 8 years, and combined our supplies to survive the cold together. However, on the coldest night, she took off my down jacket and thermal underwear while I was sick and weak, and pushed me outside. Maeve, since you're already sick, why not leave the supplies for me? I struggled in the wind of 75 degrees below zero for less than 10 minutes before losing consciousness, and finally became one of the many ice sculptures on the community square. "No, I have a second chance. Take 5 more boxes." I smiled at the cashier, paid, and quickly walked towards the supermarket exit. Stepping out of the supermarket, I shivered. Although it's just a normal low temperature now, I know that 3 days from now, the temperature will drop to an unbearable level. I took out my phone and quickly made a list of the supplies I needed to prepare. Maeve, what a coincidence. A familiar voice made my back go cold. I turned around and saw Nix coming towards me with a shopping bag. Her round face wore the same warm smile as in my memory, in the previous life. It was this face that showed me a sinister expression at the very end. I suppressed my anger and forced a smile on my face. "Nix, come buy something," she nodded. "Yes, I need to buy some daily necessities." Then she leaned closer to me and lowered her voice. "I heard that it might get colder soon. I'm preparing to stock up. You should also prepare some, just in case." I almost laughed out loud. In the previous life, she said the same thing, and then took everything from me without warning. This time, I won't make the same mistake again. I pretended to be confused. "Is that so? I didn't hear about it. But it's good to have more food just in case the weather gets cold." She affectionately patted my shoulder. "That's right, when you need help, just say so. We've been neighbors for 8 years, so we know each other well." I responded with a smile. "Yes, you've taken care of me a lot over the years." I emphasized the words "take care" with a stronger tone. She tightened her coat, too. "What's the big deal? As the saying goes, a distant relative is not as good as a close neighbor. I'm planning to cook lamb soup tonight. Come over and have some with me, to warm up." I nodded and said goodbye to her. After parting, I didn't go home directly, but rented a car and started shopping frenetically. In the next 48 hours, I almost visited every hardware store, supermarket, pharmacy, and outdoor goods store in the city. Insulation materials, portable diesel heaters, heat insulation blankets, various convenience foods, high-calorie foods, water purification tablets, commonly available medicines and hand crank generators, etc. All the supplies that could save my life in the extreme cold were secretly brought back to my apartment. That night, after having a bowl of mutton soup at her house, I hurried back to my own house and started the construction and modification overnight. The height of the 15th floor was just enough to avoid most people's view, and the vacuum soundproof panels completely absorbed the sound of the drill behind the master bedroom wardrobe. A new hidden compartment was built, containing a diesel generator and 20 fuel tanks arranged in a silent formation. I was lucky to be born into a worker's family, and even luckier that my father forced me to study architectural engineering. I completed the simple renovation project in one whole night. As a tough girl, although it's not as solid as a fortress, it greatly increased the safety of survival. After finishing, I glanced at the thermometer, which showed an outdoor temperature of -20 degrees, 6 hours earlier than in my previous life. I touched my warm phone and answered Nix's call. "Maeve, the temperature is dropping so fast. It seems the rumors about the century cold wave are true." I intentionally let my lower teeth clash, then my voice trembled slightly. "Is that true? I don't even have a thick blanket at home." The sound of paper rustling came through the phone, and I could almost see her checking the stockpile list. Her voice carried an intentional gentleness. "Don't be afraid. I have a little at home. At a time like this, I think we can share resources and get through this together." After hanging up, I opened the monitoring app, which I had installed in her house when I went over for mutton soup yesterday. At this moment, the screen showed Nix hiding 2 boxes of instant noodles in the bedroom wardrobe. while only half a box of opened cookies were in the living room, in the previous life. These were all the supplies she had hidden, and she never took them out even when we were about to starve. On the second day of the extreme cold, the temperature plummeted to 45 degrees below zero, the entire building began to emit an unknown creaking sound, and the muffled sound of burst pipes occasionally came from downstairs. All the plants downstairs had completely lost their color, and the usually lively community square had become very quiet, surprisingly. The business group was now very lively. Who has food? I'll pay 5,000 for a box of instant noodles. Who has fever medicine? I'll pay 10,000. What the hell is this weather? When will it end? My water pipe froze and burst. The property management person said to me, "Come on, you're so active in charging fees. Now you're pretending not to hear." Seeing the continuous purchase requests and complaints in the group, I closed my phone. Wearing a thin sweater, I knocked on Nix's door. My lips were purple from the cold. "Nick's sister, can I borrow an outerwear for a while?" The sound of teeth clashing was perfect without the need for acting. A cold light flashed in her eyes, but it quickly returned to normal. She took out a pilled old cotton jacket and handed it to me. "The supplies are getting tighter, don't be picky." After saying that, she looked at my empty hands with an implied meaning. I took out a half-pack of chocolate I had prepared from my pocket. "I found this in my home snack cabinet. We can use it as emergency supplies later." Her eyes lit up, but then quickly dimmed again. "It's a shame there's not enough." I broke open the chocolate, quickly smeared the powder hidden on my fingertips onto it, and then handed it to her. "These are for you. Take some when you can't bear it anymore." After nightfall, I watched her repeatedly count the supplies on the monitor. When she opened the medicine cabinet for the third time, she finally started coughing. The spice I added to the chocolate is starting to take effect." On the third day at dawn, the entire city fell into darkness. I made myself a cup of hot cocoa, watching the screen where Nix was wrapped in a blanket enjoying a cup of warm milk. On the fourth day morning, she was frantically knocking on my door. "Maeve, I have a fever. Do you have any medicine at home?" When I opened the door, I intentionally let the warm air flow into the hallway. Her puffy eyes immediately focused on the steaming electric pot behind me. The aroma of the boiling instant noodles made her throat bob. "Nix, come in. The hallway is very cold." After saying that, I scooped a spoonful of noodle soup and put a lot of noodles into it. "Nix, I only have one package left. You're seriously ill. Eat more. I'll go get you some medicine." I took out a package of expired cold medicine and gave it to her. "Nix, I saw that you look very unwell. Maybe you can rest here for a while. I just finished cooking instant noodles, and my house is a bit warm. I suggest you bring everything you can use from your house to mine. We can keep each other warm and take care of each other to get through this terrible weather." After hearing my words, her face first showed a flash of pride, then quickly switched to a polite expression. "That's also a good idea." 3. After she fell asleep, I moved a thick quilt and a few pieces of dry bread from her house, and then she curled up on the sofa and fell asleep. After she fell asleep, I carefully examined the woman who once tried to kill me. Her eyelashes trembled in an uneasy dream, and I took a photo of her close-up with my phone. Just like she posted my frozen body to the survivor group in the past life, by the fifth day, the outdoor temperature had reached -60 degrees, the wind was howling outside, and Nix hadn't recovered from her fever yet. Also, the originally lively property group had gradually become quiet. I think many people probably didn't make it and had already said goodbye to this world. Myself and Nix were curled up on the sofa under thick blankets. Actually, I had thermal underwear on under my clothes. "Maeve, I'm going back home to check if there's anything we can use for supplies, otherwise, we won't make it through." I nodded, watching her go home shivering. While she was away, I quickly made a cup of hot cocoa and softened some already frozen chocolate, eating a big piece. I felt much warmer afterward. I opened the monitoring app and saw Nix cooking instant noodles, then put on another set of thermal underwear. After doing everything, her complexion improved. She took 2 pieces of compressed biscuits, she applied some powder to her face before going out, and her complexion turned back to pale. When she came back and gave me the compressed biscuit, I looked at her with concern. "Nix, maybe you should keep eating it. Your body is still weak, and I can still endure a bit longer." Nix took my hand and forced a biscuit into it. "Maeve, we promised to get through this together." I looked at her face. If it weren't for my previous life's experience, I would have actually believed her. "Well then, Nix, you rest quickly. I'll go boil some water and take some medicine after that." When the water boiled, I put 2 fever-reducing tablets into it, the exact same dosage as she gave me in my previous life, just enough to relieve the symptoms but not to cure them. I handed her the medicine. "Does Nix know that people tend to remove their clothes before freezing to death?" She trembled slightly while holding her water cup. "What does that mean?" I looked at Nix and smiled. Not much. I just read online that many people become confused in the cold and actually feel hot, and apparently many people who freeze to death are found in disarray. Nix sighed, then looked at me in surprise. Oh, is that a thing? I've never heard of it before. I shook my head and stared at her for a while. Who knows, maybe those people were just making it up. But Nix, I noticed you look much better after going back home. Did you find something good there? She became unsettled. How is that possible? When I came here before, I took everything I could, and it took me a lot of effort to only find this much compressed biscuit. I think it's probably because of your medicine. She's quite good at pretending. I looked at the thermometer on the wall, and the outdoor temperature had dropped to minus 70 degrees. Nix, the temperature is already this low now, and we don't have much supplies left. What do you think we should do? She pretended to think for a moment. It's true that this isn't a solution. I think we should concentrate our resources on one person, and the other person should wear more clothes and go look for help. It seems her true nature is about to show. Nix, you're right. Since you said my medicine made you feel better, how about you go look for help? Upon hearing my words, she immediately became angry, although it's a bit better. You're younger than me, and your physical condition is better suited for looking for help. The fox's tail has finally been exposed, but I still play along with her. But it's so cold outside, you'll get frozen to death. Her voice became a bit cold, but staying together will also lead to death. Let's take a chance. I can give you my jacket. Why don't you give me your thermal underwear? This time her face became completely panicked. What are you talking about? What thermal underwear? I slowly approached her and whispered, the instant noodles in the bedroom closet. She took a step back, her face pale. How do you know? I moved forward. I know more than you think. For example, I know you sent me out to let me die, and you wanted to take over my supplies. She continued to back away nervously, bumping into the coffee table. You're talking nonsense. I no longer pretended. I pulled out the shocker I had hidden in my boot and turned it on. You won't remember, but I remember clearly how you stripped me naked and threw me into the icy cold. Her eyes widened, and she finally realized I wasn't joking. She turned to run, but I was faster. The shocker pressed against her lower back. She screamed, convulsed, and fell to the ground. I didn't use maximum power, just made her temporarily unable to resist. I crouched down and looked into her terrified eyes. Nix, I've been thinking, if it had been you who was pushed out the door back then, how long would you have lasted? I took out the rope I had prepared in advance and started tying her hands and feet. She weakly struggled, muttering something incoherently. I spoke in a very gentle tone, just like her from her previous life. Don't worry, I won't kill you now. I want you to experience everything I went through, just much longer. The freezing apocalypse has arrived, and Nix's nightmare is about to begin. I went to her house openly and brought back those instant noodles and compressed biscuits. Nix, thank you for the supplies. Nix looked terrifying. Maeve, how could you be so cruel? After arranging the supplies, I cooked a bowl of instant noodles in front of her. Vile. Compared to you pushing me out to freeze to death, this isn't vile at all. Then she started begging me again. Maeve, you really misunderstood me. I never meant to harm you. Please give me a little bit. Okay. I shook my head and slowly enjoyed a bowl of noodles. Sis Nix, the braised flavor is a bit greasy, but thank you for preparing the noodles for me. She looked at me with resentment, and I could see her hands deeply embedded in her palms. I covered myself with all the blankets and tied her to the leg of the table, then slept soundly. Every day after that, I would give her a cup of hot cocoa to keep her alive, then take out various foods I had stockpiled and eat them in different ways. On the 13th day, when the temperature outside dropped to minus 75 degrees, she finally broke down. Maeve, please, kill me. I wiped the remaining hot pot dipping sauce from my lips and smiled at Nix, who was begging. Nix, I won't become a murderer like you, but since we've been neighbors for 8 years, I'll fulfill your wish. She was so weak she had no ability to resist, just like in the previous life. I took away her warm clothes, dressed her in a red silk nightgown, and threw her house key down from the top floor. Nix, I believe with such a beautiful outfit, you will definitely find help. After saying that, I pushed her out of the door. 5. No, I give you freedom, and a chance to live. I held a cup of hot milk and walked to the balcony, standing by the window watching the fierce cold wind outside. A few minutes later, I saw Nix shivering violently as she came out of the building. Because of her weak body, she didn't walk a few steps before falling down and couldn't get up even after struggling for a long time. She crawled slowly towards her house key, and less than 3 minutes later, she stopped moving. I looked at her, now frozen like an ice sculpture, and took a photo with my phone, letting out a long sigh. Nix, it's your turn this time. The satisfaction of revenge lasted about half an hour. Then a feeling of weakness and helplessness came over me. I thought I would be overjoyed watching her die, but now I just feel deep exhaustion. There's no time for me to indulge in melancholy. After all, the freezing apocalypse is not over yet. I have to try my best to survive. Thinking about this, I started to count all my supplies. The diesel generator and heater still have nearly 70% fuel, and the food supply is enough for a month, maybe a month and a half if I am careful. I can only hope that this apocalypse will end before my supplies run out. Or that I can wait for official rescue. That night, the power went out, my phone sometimes lost signal, and I could only receive intermittent information from the outside. A strong sense of unease kept me awake all night. A week later, to our surprise, although the power had not been restored, the phone signal was back to normal after turning on the data. Several messages in the owners group from 10 minutes ago made me break out in cold sweat. Professional math tutor Lucian sent a message. There are still people alive in Building 5, Unit 3, Room 1302. I also just saw that the house had light. My blood ran cold in an instant. They were talking about my home address. It was because I forgot to close the curtain when I turned on the light to heat the milk. Soon after, property manager Jude also replied, I remember that house was occupied by a single woman, and she has been able to withstand so long. Which should mean she has a lot of supplies. Another one, A. Ori Fitness Fin Coach, also sent a message. Surely there were. I saw her house emitting white smoke yesterday. I thought it was because I was hungry and hallucinating, but now I think I didn't see it wrong. Without thinking about fear, I violently dismantled the dining table and used the 4 legs to reinforce the door, holding an electric baton in one hand and a baseball bat in the other. I was on high alert. Half an hour later, I heard some noise in the corridor. I opened the mobile phone monitoring app and placed the phone on the coffee table. In the monitoring screen, the property manager Old Ching appeared in front of my door with 2 men wrapped like mummies, holding tools such as an axe and a steel pipe. I held my breath, gripping the tools tightly, standing by the window. 6. Knock knock knock. The dull knocking sound rang. Then Jude's rough voice came through. Hurry up and open the door. 1302. I know you're in there. It's a critical time now. The whole community is just as few who are still alive. If you share your supplies with us, we promise not to hurt you. I didn't respond, and a burly man spoke up. You stupid woman, if you don't open the door, I'll use force. After saying that, he kicked the door hard a few times. I thought he must be Coach Finn, a man who wore glasses and was relatively short, had a fierce look in his eyes, and he directly used an axe to chop at the door. What's the point of talking? 3 men can't open a door. He had absolutely no dignity of a teacher. The door was starting to loosen under their violent actions, and I had to think of a way. Although I had a weapon and was somewhat of a tomboy, I still couldn't fight 3 men. In the panic, I saw the oil bottle on the kitchen counter, and an idea came to me. After putting the taser on my waist, I quietly went to the kitchen, took the oil bottle, and poured oil on the entrance hall. Then scattered a bag of nails from the cabinet on top of it. I coated the walls on both sides of the door with a layer of cooking oil, and sprinkled the super strong tickle powder I had prepared for pranking my friends a long time ago. After finishing all this, I took my phone off the coffee table. Following the plan I had in mind, I opened the window on the balcony and went back to the master bedroom, because I had already moved all the important supplies to the master bedroom before they arrived. Since I had been discovered, I no longer concealed myself and directly turned on the diesel heater. There was a pot of water prepared on the door frame of the bedroom. Through the phone monitor, I saw that the door of my house was smashed open by the final attack of Lucian's fire axe with a thunder sound. He rushed in first, stepped on the oil, and fell backward, his back of the head precisely hitting the thumbtacks I had sprinkled. Oh no, this bastard set a trap. His back of the head started to bleed, instantly staining the floor with blood, but it quickly coagulated. Save me, you two. Jude and Finn outside the door looked at each other in mutual confusion, exchanging a glance. Teacher Lucian, in this situation you won't survive anyway. Don't waste resources. I'll take revenge on you later. In the apocalyptic world, people's hearts are hard to fathom, and the evil side of human nature is magnified infinitely. Half an hour ago, the group was united, but now it has already begun to collapse. The 2 looked at the nails and cooking oil on the floor, and carefully held the wall to avoid the cooking oil on the ground. They took a step and both fell down at the same time. Although they weren't stabbed in vital areas this time, they were still slightly injured by the nails. Damn it. You bitch, today I'm not only going to take the supplies, but I'm also going to teach you a lesson. Brother, let's have some fun later and show this guy who's boss. After saying those harsh words, the 2 struggled for a long time before getting up. The footsteps reached the door of the master bedroom, and I tightened my grip on the taser, fully focused, waiting for the prey to enter. 3, 2, 1, bang. The door opened, and they came in. The pot of water on the doorframe accurately hit the two of them, and the cold wind from the balcony window blew in, making the two of them shiver. Damn it, I'm going to kill you today. Quick-eyed and quick-handed, I immediately sprinkled the itching powder on their faces, then struck with the electric baton. The two of them immediately collapsed, convulsing and unable to speak clearly. You, him, mother. I hit each of them once on the legs with a baseball bat. Shut up. Do you really think I'm vegetarian? Sometimes the roles of hunter and prey aren't what you expect. They realized they couldn't move, and their threats and curses turned into howls of despair and pleas for mercy. Aunt, grandmother, we were wrong. Just let us be, as if we were nothing. Miss Maeve, I helped you fix the window before. Maybe you let me go and have him apologize. I was wearing a thick cotton coat, smiling happily as I watched the two of them. 7. Why? Aren't you going to take revenge on Lucian teacher? Where is the three-person team? Without waiting for their response, I taped their mouths shut. They were too noisy. I dragged them one by one to the living room, threw them in the balcony area, and a cold wind made me shiver. After finishing, I quickly went back to the bedroom, locked the door, filled the door gap with sealing tape, and increased the power of the whole house heater. After a few minutes, I felt less cold. In the phone monitoring app, the two of them had completely fainted from the cold, and the water poured on them had turned into a thin layer of ice. After confirming that the three of them were dead, I went up from the bedroom and closed the balcony window. I moved them to the stairwell, took out a large white bedsheet from the house, covered them, and then started dealing with the damaged front door. After thinking for a long time, I finally had to take the door from the secondary bedroom and install it on the front door. Fortunately, the doors in this community were mostly the same size at that time, and although they were wooden doors, they could still be used. When I returned to the bedroom, my heart was not calm at all. I am a tomboy, but I never thought one day I would become a murderer, even if it was just self-defense, to survive. The three of them were different from Nick's. We had no grudge or enmity before today. I pulled all the curtains, and the roaring of the diesel generator and the heater kept me company through the long night. The next day, I had already adjusted my mindset. After all, I still have to keep living. On the 25th day, my phone suddenly received a message. All survivors in this city are requested to go to the West Suburbs Stadium within 5 days. We have built a temporary shelter with basic heating equipment and food. The shelter will be completely closed after 5 days. I hesitated. From my home to the West Suburbs shelter is a 20-kilometer journey, which is not a big deal under normal circumstances, but in the current extreme cold of over 70 degrees below zero, this 20-kilometer journey to save myself is hardly different from a suicide trip. However, if I don't go, the supplies I have will only last 10 more days, and I'm not sure if there are other survivors coming out to loot. The most important point is that the shelter will be completely closed after 5 days. If I don't go, I will completely lose this opportunity. Eventually, I still decided to wait until the last day to leave, because at that time it would be relatively safe, or perhaps some other miracle might happen during this period, but I still didn't wait for the miracle to happen, so I started packing my things the day before the shelter closed. I planned to start heading to the shelter tomorrow. I spent the whole day preparing my things: chocolate, cocoa powder, 2 large thermos bottles filled with hot water, and compressed biscuits were put into a backpack. I nodded. I only took these space-saving and high-calorie foods. It's not only for reducing weight, but more importantly, they are enough for me to survive until I reach the shelter. If I exceed this time, even if I have enough food, the final result will still be death. An electric baton and a fruit knife were attached to my waist, covered by a down jacket, and the pockets of the down jacket contained itching powder and pepper powder. These are all life-saving items, and I must take them. I took out some old ski equipment from the storage cabinet and a skateboard that I originally bought for a colleague's son. Finally, I drew the map and mapped out the route forward, and that was all prepared. After doing all of that, I had a delicious and abundant dinner, and turned the heater to maximum. These things can't be taken away, so let them serve their maximum purpose. Let me rest and regain my energy for a good sleep. The next morning early, I put on my gear and left this place where I had lived for 8 years. When I passed by Nix's body, I looked at her for a moment, then I set off without looking back. Indeed, I didn't see any living people along the way, but I encountered many human-shaped ice sculptures. The journey was relatively smooth. Although it was very cold, I had warming plasters on my body, and I could still endure. I smiled. By noon, I found a store with a broken door and went in to rest. One is to confirm the route again, and the other is that I need to regain my strength. I took out the cocoa powder from the bag and poured it into the thermos, finishing lunch with the compressed biscuits, and I felt a bit warmer. 8. I took out the map and looked at it. And with the skateboard I had already covered half the distance, estimating that I could reach the destination before dark. I didn't rest for long. Taking advantage of the warmth in my body, I set off again on the skateboard. At 7 o'clock in the evening, I could already vaguely see the outline of the stadium building. I estimated that I still had about 3 kilometers left before I could reach my destination. At this moment, a girl's voice came from the roadside. "Sister, please save me." I followed the sound and saw a girl in a pink down jacket huddled under a bridge pier, looking no more than 20 years old. Her bare hands had turned a terrible purplish color, and an empty backpack was lying beside her. All my nerves were tense, preparing to move forward, because experiential lessons have told me that in the apocalypse, you can't be a saint. I had just started, when the girl suddenly rushed over and hugged my leg. "Sister, please take me with you." I was pulled and couldn't move forward. Instinctively my hands had already reached for the weapon at my waist, but as I just took out the electric button, a shadow suddenly rushed up from the side holding a steel pipe. "Hey, it seems you're a cautious and ruthless woman." I started to back away, but the girl pulled me down with all her strength. "Put down your weapon. We just want supplies, not your life. Put down your backpack and your clothes, and we'll let you go." I quickly nodded. "Okay. I agree to you." Saying that, he threw away the stun baton and sat up pretending to untie his backpack strap. With one hand, he secretly put his hand in his pocket and felt the pepper powder and itching powder, then turned his back and sprinkled them towards the girl. The girl started coughing violently, and her companion reacted quickly, dropping the steel pipe on my shoulder. "You don't want to take the wine? Then you have to take the punishment, if that's the case. Don't blame me for being ruthless." Seeing the steel pipe coming down again, I had no strength left to fight back. I closed my eyes and waited for the final moment to arrive. 5 seconds later, the steel pipe still didn't fall. Instead, I heard an "ah" and opened my eyes. The man who attacked me had already fallen to the ground, and next to him was a man wearing an old military coat. "Miss, are you okay? In the winter where the temperature is below -70 degrees. His voice was like a warm stove at this moment. I nodded awkwardly, then he tightened his military coat. "If there's nothing else, I'll take you to the shelter." I suddenly became alert. Maybe he wasn't a good person after all. "No, I can walk by myself." He sighed helplessly, took 2 steps back, then took out an officer's certificate from his pocket and threw it to me. "This is my certificate. My name is Archer. I am an active duty soldier. Today I received a task to search and rescue within 3 kilometers of the shelter. Now you can be at ease." I hesitantly opened the officer's certificate and double-checked it before nodding. "Sorry, He waved his hand. "I understand. Can I leave now?" I awkwardly replied yes, then picked up my dropped backpack and taser. 9. He took out a rope and tied the 2 criminals' hands, dragging them along with me towards the shelter. After an hour, I finally arrived safely at the shelter. Archer handed me over to a staff member. "Miss, she will take care of you. For now, I need to hand these 2 scums over to the law enforcement, but if you have anything to do here, you can find me. I live in room 108 of Area A." I nodded silently and followed the staff member. "Room 111 of Area B is my new residence." The staff member told me that the canteen is offering free warming ginger soup. After drinking the ginger soup, I hesitated for a while and took a piece of chocolate to the door of room 108 in Area A and knocked on the door. "Please have some chocolate." He was stunned for a moment, then smiled. I also smiled. The shelter is warmer than I imagined. Story 2. A meteor shower brought about the apocalypse. The good news is, I have awakened a spatial supernatural ability. The bad news is, the time flow in my space is accelerated by 10,000 times. The eggs from this morning turned ancient by the Qing dynasty, and last week's rice dates back to the Western Zhou dynasty. I threw some zombies into it. The next day, the zombies had turned into a pile of bones. I dumped the bones under the apartment building to free up space. With a level 1 supernatural ability, my space is only 2 cubic meters. It's a tight squeeze, but I can fit about 7 or 8 zombies. However, the living area per zombie is too small, and their happiness is not very high. But it doesn't matter, their lifetime passes very quickly. In order to go out and find supplies, I started clearing the zombies around. The streets were crowded with zombies, and nobody was there to lend a hand. Working in shifts around the clock, I barely managed to clear 30 zombies a day. After several days of non-stop work, the neighborhood exploded. "Who the hell dumped a pile of bodies downstairs? Have you no decency?" "No, I don't." I glanced at the complainer's door number, B250, good. "From now on I will specifically dump them at your doorstep. Dealing with people is always harder than dealing with bodies, but I'm different, I can handle both well." After stacking the corpses high enough to bury B250's windowsill, I advanced to a level 2 supernatural ability. My space doubled, now fitting 15 zombies. Thus, I became even more efficient at killing zombies. Making my way out of the neighborhood to the supermarket, most of the goods in the supermarket were already looted. I hurried to grab what was left, biscuits, instant noodles, chili sauce, and stuffed them all into my backpack. Carrying the load back and forth exhausted me, and I collapsed into a deep sleep on my bed. When I woke up, it was already dark. I heard the sound of car engines from downstairs. Looking out the window, I saw many people returning in their cars, unloading bags of rice and oil from their trunks, all excited and smug. A few days ago, when I was out killing zombies, they were all hiding at home. Now that the zombies are cleared, they swarm out to snatch up supplies. The supermarket must be empty by now. I took a loaf of bread from my backpack, opened the unscrupulous map on my phone, and while eating, I looked for the next suitable supply point. The next supermarket was quite far. The disadvantage of not being able to drive was fully apparent now. I planned my route, and the next morning, I smeared myself with zombie blood and left the house calmly. A few more zombies wandered into the neighborhood, drawn by the smell on me, thinking I was one of them due to the stench. They felt the warmth of my body. I mercilessly stabbed them in the back. After cleaning up, the neighborhood was much tidier. I locked the main gate of the neighborhood with a chain to prevent zombies from slipping in and causing more trouble. Leaving the neighborhood, I stole an electric scooter, turned the key, and sped away. Behind me, I heard an incredulous voice. "It's crazy." It looked like a zombie riding an electric scooter. Dawn was breaking. The neighborhood group chat came to life. B250 was ranting again. "Who locked the main gate? How selfish can you be? Do you think the whole neighborhood belongs to just you? Others can't go out to find supplies, but you can." Some people sided with me, trying to calm things down with kind words, but they were too polite, never insulting the other party, and left with regrets. Although I'm not as polite, I was busy with a free shopping spree and missed the peak of the showdown. When I got home and was checking my spoils, I suddenly heard a scream from downstairs. Looking out, I saw a zombie had entered our area and bitten a man, his intestines spilling out. Several people nearby screamed in terror, attracting more zombies. Well, I did say we should have locked the gate. I opened WeChat and messaged B250, "Hello, are you the one who died?" No response. I don't know if it's because they're dead, or because the power suddenly went out. Looking at the long unused clothes rack, no, the exercise bike, I had an idea and strapped a zombie onto it. The zombie pedaled aimlessly, generating electricity slowly. At this rate, fast charging my phone was a waste. Unhappy with its work ethic, I grabbed a belt and gave it a lash. The zombie, unfazed by pain, continued to slack off. Inspired again, I went downstairs, strolled around the corpses, and carefully picked a piece of fresh intestine from one that hadn't turned yet, dangling it in front of the zombie. The zombie went crazy, pedaling with all its might, turning the pedals like turbo wheels. My phone charged quickly. The zombie kept pedaling energetically, but I was annoyed by the noise. So I pulled out a kitchen knife and stabbed it in the heart. It didn't die. Oh, right. Dead people don't have heartbeats. I punched it. I unleashed all my skills on it, slashing, drowning, burning, electrocuting. Finally, the zombie kicked its legs out and left this beautiful world. A crystal fell out of its brain. I pondered. I recalled the zombie bones I had lost days ago. Their skulls were empty, right? Then I thought about the space I had doubled. It turns out you absorbed it. I tossed the crystal in my hand, gradually understanding everything. This thing, it's a new energy source. Just as I began to fantasize about the Nobel Prize, my stomach suddenly growled. With things as they were, I decided to eat first. The gas wasn't cut off yet, so I busied myself in the kitchen and soon had a pot of extra stinky and spicy snail noodle soup ready. The rich aroma spread, tantalizing. Holding the pot, I slurped the noodles contentedly, blissfully, when suddenly I heard urgent knocking. My neighbor cried out in anguish, "Don't eat it, don't eat it. Better to starve than to cook and eat shit." "I'm not eating shit," I explained feebly through the peephole. They didn't believe me. "If it's not shit and it still smells that bad, it's almost as bad as the pile of corpses downstairs. You wouldn't be keeping a zombie in your house, would you?" Playing such a twisted game. He was just joking initially, but I fell silent. He started to stammer. "You're really nurturing. Are they your family?" "I'm so sorry, it's my loose mouth." "You must have your reasons." He rambled on incoherently for a while, then slapped himself, exclaiming, "I really deserve to die." Seeing his guilt, I swallowed back the words I hadn't yet spoken. "I wasn't messing with you. It's none of your business." He scratched his head, trying to make amends. "I heard that the neighboring province is planning to set up a survivor base. I've joined a squad. Do you want to come along?" After taking a shower, tidying up my home, and fighting off zombies along the way, I arrived at the meeting point the neighbor mentioned. The deputy leader, Avance, looked at me casually. "A woman, huh? Do you have any special abilities?" "I have spatial abilities." "How big?" "For cubic meters." "Damn, how come it's larger than mine?" He seemed annoyed and casually pointed to a few bags of rice on the ground. "Then take this with you." "I can't, time moves faster in my space." "One day equals over 20 years, Vance sneered. What good is that then? Toilet paper would rot in there. My space stops time. I can store food indefinitely, which is far more useful than your thing. He was smug. I clapped. Oh, that powerful. Bet my 50 bags of instant noodles on it. Let's see your strength. Vance immediately became defensive. Why should I? I smirked. If you're not strong, then shut up. Vance rolled up his sleeves, ready to fight, just as the tense atmosphere peaked. The captain appeared. The captain was a well-composed man with a gentle demeanor. Rainy, right, welcome aboard. Would you like to be in charge of gathering supplies, or doing odd jobs? I'll gather supplies. Okay, Asher said. Vance started complaining. With those skinny arms and legs, can you even fight off zombies? Don't slow us down, I replied. Consider your own issues. Am I really dragging you down, or are you unable to keep up with me? We drove to a massive supermarket. The captain advised us to keep a low profile to avoid attracting the zombies' attention, so we stealthily sneaked in, crouching low. As soon as we entered, we bumped into a zombie. Great, we successfully grabbed the zombie's attention. Vance and the zombie stared each other down before he grabbed an iron bar and charged. The zombie's head burst open from the blow. As one zombie fell, two more approached. Vance fearlessly swung his iron bar with great force. I wasn't interested in him. I turned to watch Asher, who was attacking from the side. I heard he had lightning powers. Could it be the thunderbolt that shakes the heavens? I was eager to see. Just then, a spark of electricity flashed from Asher's fingertips, accompanied by a bright white light, and swiftly struck the zombie. It singed his clothes. I remarked, "Your lightning, apart from everything else, sure is flashy." Asher tightened his face. "I missed aiming for the head last time. Let's go again." But as Vance grappled with the two zombies, to avoid friendly fire, it was quite challenging to aim. Asher could only keep to the fringes, dodging left and right, his movements crackling like sparklers. I couldn't help but say, "Are you cheering up the zombies?" Asher grew agitated, and Vance was also running out of stamina. As two zombies lunged at Vance simultaneously, I shouted urgently, "Dodge quickly." Vance rolled away on the spot, escaping the immediate danger. I scooped up a ladle of water from my space and splashed it on the zombies, then urged Asher, "Lightning King, you've been powered up, go for it." Ever seen electrofishing? The bright white lightning hitting the water immobilized the zombies like fish on the verge of death, thrashing briefly before losing their ability to move. Asher stroked his chin. Could it be that the zombies are also controlled by bioelectricity? I was speechless. Stop theorizing. Your most important task right now is the upgrade. Grab the big bags. Hurry up. We quickly descended the building, raided the underground supermarket, each of us carrying 2 large bags of supplies, ready to head back. Unfortunately, we ran into a large group of zombies. Vance, quick as ever, splashed water from his space, and Asher followed up with lightning. The two coordinated seamlessly, forming a solid defensive line with a trail of water, successfully blocking the zombies. We carefully retreated, only to find another group of zombies encircling us from behind. The duo repeated their tactic, forming another defensive line at the rear. Caught between, it was like being in fortress besieged. Those inside wanted out, and the zombies outside wanted in. The electrified zombies started tap dancing in rage, howling angrily, attracting even more zombies in relentless waves, but the power of the waterbound lightning was fading. Vance looked grim, pulling out an iron rod. "My powers are almost depleted. I'll clear the way. You two find the right moment to break out." Asher, pale and shaky, pulled a kitchen knife from his backpack, gritting his teeth and shielding me. The jumping lightning went out, leaving only a pool of still water. The zombies rushed straight at us, their rotting fingers nearly piercing Asher's mouth. I unfastened my belt. "Follow me," I shouted, then gripped my belt tightly and swung it fiercely. Wherever the belt struck, zombies vanished on the spot. I charged forward, sweeping aside all obstacles, leading them out of the encirclement. We hurried into the car, floored the accelerator, and quickly left the pursuing zombies behind. Vance was so excited he was practically steaming. "Holy shit, sis, you're incredible, thanks. I'm a woman, no bro here. That's because you're freaking awesome." We drove to the outskirts and met up with 2 other teammates. One was the neighbor who had recruited me, and the other was a burly man as solid as a rock refrigerator. They introduced themselves. I won't mention their names since I didn't remember them. Asher looked at me with an unimpressed expression and repeated, "My name is Asher." I glanced at his serious face and nodded. "Got it." Asher brightened up immediately. Our group of 5 gathered around an old map, studying it for a long time before deciding on the route to the neighboring province's base. The future looked bright, but the road was full of twists and turns. Just a few kilometers out, our way was blocked by the car ahead. "If you can't drive, don't," I muttered angrily as I dragged the zombie driver out and took over his car. After driving another dozen kilometers, we encountered a group of zombies queuing to cross the road. We wiped them out and then went on to extract their brain nuclei. leaving brain matter scattered all around. My neighbor chuckled stiffly. I thought you playing with zombies at home was twisted enough, but this is another level. How did you even think of doing this? Did the sight of zombies suddenly make you crave monkey brains? While my neighbor aimlessly stirred the zombie brain matter, he failed to notice a zombie slowly approaching from behind, just as putrid drool was about to drip onto his head. I willed the zombie to disappear. Third-level spatial ability, telekinesis, really comes in handy. No more sudden belt unfastening on the thrilling battlefield. After driving hundreds of kilometers, our supplies were down to a mere half. Asher was conflicted. 5 people, for packs of instant noodles. How should we split them? I thought to myself, why not just cook it all in one pot? When suddenly a sinister voice whispered from behind, why not just kill one? As the words fell, a water sphere appeared out of nowhere and enveloped Asher's head. Through the irregularly flowing water, his usually composed face appeared grotesquely distorted. Asher struggled to breathe, choking on water, his face filled with panic as the water sphere firmly locked around him. A man and a woman strolled up to us leisurely. The man controlled the water flow with ease, smiling contentedly. Want him to live? Give us your supplies. I covertly tried to manipulate my thoughts to retract the water. It failed. The water sphere and Asher were inextricably linked, making them inseparable. Asher also dared not use his electrical powers. Vance, seeing we were outmatched, gritted his teeth and threw over the 4 packs of noodles. The woman clumsily caught them, clutching them to her chest. The man smirked. Not enough. Is that all your companion's life is worth, Vance? Eyes reddened. Threw the rest of our supplies over. The woman fumbled to pick them up, holding them tightly. Finally satisfied, the man smiled. Enough. His expression suddenly turned sinister as more water spheres appeared, one by one enveloping Vance, the neighbor, and Rock. You can all go die now. My teammates struggled in their last moments, eyes bulging as they were deprived of air. It was almost my turn. The man was drenched from head to toe. You too. Are you also a water-based ability user? I didn't respond. Water from my spatial ability continuously poured out, enveloping him like a water-based ability. The water was mixed with zombie flesh, pus, eyeballs, and brain matter, the stench overwhelmingly foul. The man vomited and struggled, too weak to focus on controlling his ability. The uncontrolled water spheres burst and splashed. My teammates escaped, gasping for fresh air. Meanwhile, the man was trapped in the water, his struggles growing weaker. The woman looked helpless and anxious. Setting down the food she had gathered on the ground, pleading with tears in her eyes, she said, "Please let him go. We'll give you back the items. Just please spare him." I was perplexed. You should return them anyway. Seeing her tears, I felt a hint of pity. I stroked my chin. How about you hand over your food, and I'll consider releasing him. As if granted a pardon, the woman quickly ran to their car and brought back a heap of food, presenting it to me as if it were treasure. They had quite a stash: cream-filled bread, canned meat, Orleans chicken leg sandwiches, self-heating chicken rice, and even Coca-Cola. I was genuinely amazed. Suddenly, a flash of cold light struck at me. Instinctively, I retreated into my space. The woman disappeared. I cursed under my breath. Where was my large bottle of Coca-Cola? I immediately focused my consciousness into the space, frantically searching through the food, losing interest in maintaining control over the water. The man finally freed himself. Covered in grime, he collapsed on the ground, gasping for air, and belatedly asked, "Where's my wife?" I pulled the woman out from the space and dropped her on him. She's dead. A minute in my space is equivalent to 7 days in reality. She had long died of thirst. The man, in disbelief, said, "She was just alive. How could she be gone in the blink of an eye?" "No, my wife. You'll always be my sweet." He embraced the body, sobbing bitterly. "If it weren't for trying to save me," I tried to console him. "Actually, saving me wasn't necessary. I was almost out of my water-based powers." His crying grew louder. Such a tough one to console. While comforting him, I and my team drove away with his vehicle loaded with supplies, leaving them in the dust. Vance opened one of the sandwiches and sniffed it. "After so many days into the apocalypse, it's still fresh." I casually mentioned that woman had spatial powers. After absorbing her, my space leveled up to tier 4. We were quite lucky on the road. Every time we ran out of food, we stumbled upon good Samaritans eager to provide supplies, scoring several new vehicles, more profitable than online selling. Upon reaching the base, we were assigned to a dormitory with 3 bunk beds. Well, half a lifetime after graduation, and here we are back in a room for 6. After killing zombies and returning to the dorm, it felt like my life was over. The dorm manager explained, "Everything in the base must be exchanged for points. A simple meal in the cafeteria costs 1 point, a bucket of hot water 1 point, and medications 3 points. In the end, even in the apocalypse, one has to work. A single zombie earns you 1 point. Those who made it to the base had killed many zombies. earning enough points for several good meals. However, exchanging points required proof, and who would be mad enough to carry around zombie corpses? Except for me. I excitedly approached the exchange counter and opened my space, letting zombie bodies fall out like dumplings. The staff member was stunned, his expression slowly fading. Actually, we just need the heads, not the bodies, I generously replied. Buy one, get one free. No thanks needed, it's all yours. I earned 107 points. With a grand gesture, I led my team to the cafeteria for a hearty meal. Our meal was a simple stir-fried cabbage with rice. I splurged and added a large plate of green beans with roasted pork and a big pot of seaweed tofu soup. The dishes were oily, steaming hot, and deliciously fragrant. We ate until our bellies were round and we were completely satisfied. That night, each of us enjoyed 2 buckets of hot water for a thoroughly enjoyable bath. After 3 cozy days, our troubles seemed to have vanished, and we began to work. Who could possibly defeat me? With my level 4 special abilities, I could take down over 100 zombies single-handedly. In the world of Water Margin, not even the heroes of Liangshan would dare to challenge me. In Journey to the West, even the Monkey King would seek my help. Oh heaven, you're truly not on my side, sending me into the era of the 3 kingdoms. Behind us was a dark wave of zombies. Probably as vast as an army of 100,000, they were fiercely chasing us, snapping at our heels. I ran until I was nearly out of breath. The zombies were faster, with their dead hands reaching for my backside. Vance and Rock swung their iron rods, clearing the zombies and fiercely protecting me. Asher and a neighbor, one on each side, dragged me, breathless as a dying dog. After a desperate 800-meter sprint, we finally made it to the base. But who in the world closed the main gate of the base? From the towering walls, several ropes were thrown down. Our fellow runners, without a moment's hesitation, grabbed the ropes and quickly started climbing. What? Have you guys been secretly training for a triathlon without me? After running 800 meters, my legs were as soft as noodles. Just when I felt utterly helpless, Asher lifted me up and with great effort, pulled me up. Then he grabbed a rope and climbed up swiftly. The zombie horde reached the base of the wall and began to violently shake the ropes. Many people fell while they were halfway up. Asher, with gritted teeth and veins bulging on his arms, clung tightly to the rope, climbing up step by step. Finally, he made it to the top and collapsed on the ground, gasping for air. Then, someone pushed him off. Asher, incredulous, widened his eyes as he fell straight into a group of zombies. The zombies excitedly pounced on him. I immediately used my spatial abilities, but the zombies kept coming, endlessly. I was completely caught off guard and watched helplessly as Asher was overwhelmed by the wave of zombies. My eyes were filled with fury. Asher, from beneath the layers of zombies, Asher's voice, filled with pain, came through. My name is Asher, damn it. Suddenly, a bright burst of lightning erupted, and dozens of zombies on him were blown away. He leaped up and quickly climbed the rope. The neighbor, lying on the edge of the wall, vigorously pulled him up. A man indifferently curled his lip. He was the one who had pushed Asher, now being firmly held down by Rock and Vance. Asher, breathing heavily, reappeared on top of the wall. We all breathed a huge sigh of relief. The man looked at him, then suddenly grinned. You've been bitten by a zombie. We were stunned. From Asher's exposed wound, the blood that flowed was turning black. His pale skin began to darken. A chord in my mind suddenly snapped. The man laughed triumphantly. He's been bitten by a zombie. Are you not going to throw him down? Do you really want to watch him slowly turn into a zombie before you pretend to sob and kill him in grief? I was just teasing you guys. My wife has healing powers. She could have saved him. Too bad you killed her. We had space, water, and healing abilities. We could have survived until the end of the apocalypse, but she was killed by you. I want you to remember forever that you killed your own savior. No one can save you. Just wait for death. Vance's eyes were bloodshot. Shut up. Asher blankly stared at the black blood on his arm, looked up at us quietly, and then glanced at the wall he had desperately climbed over. He turned and walked toward the wall. I grabbed his arm. In that moment, everything in the world before my eyes suddenly became crystal clear. Every inch of skin, every stream of blood, every nerve. The ordinary wound on his arm, tainted with zombie saliva, was as visible as ink in clear water. My mind focused, and I extracted the contaminated blood. His blood turned bright red again. His skin regained its pale fairness. The man stopped laughing, incredulous. Aren't you a water-based power user? How come you have healing abilities? Oh, maybe because my powers have reached level 5. I looked back at the man, scratching my head. Sorry, who are you again? I've killed so many people along the way, I really can't remember. And who is your wife? The man spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground, motionless. The smell of blood spread. The zombies under the wall became even more agitated. They frantically shook the ropes, causing people still climbing the wall to fall and be torn apart amid screams. Even after eating the people, the zombies refused to leave and began fiercely slamming into the wall. Rock looked serious and worried. I wonder if the base's wall is just shoddy construction. Asher, having lost a lot of blood, had pale lips but continued to direct from the front. Try to kill as many zombies as possible. Keep them away from the wall. Vance silently took out several buckets of water, coordinating with Asher. This tactic worked very well against 3 or 5 zombies. But against a horde, it was like a drop in the bucket. I looked towards the distant river, a flash of inspiration. Previously, without a bucket, I couldn't store a liter of water directly into space, but at level 5, I could. With a thought, suddenly, a gap appeared in midair, and a torrent of water gushed out, as if the waters of the Yellow River descended from the heavens. The endless water soaked every inch of ground where the zombies stood. Asher immediately turned into Thor. Starting to generate electricity, bright white lightning exploded in the water, instantly knocking down a swath of zombies. The others on the city wall, seeing this, took the opportunity to counterattack. Suddenly, the wind howled, flames burned fiercely, and earth spikes erupted from the ground. Watching the scene, my blood boiled, and with another thought, a nearby hill suddenly became bare, and several huge rocks fell from the sky, smashing down dozens of zombies. I repeated my trick, hurling a huge rock high into the air, and then smashing it down again. Rock looked at me admiringly. You truly are a chosen one destined to fight the apocalypse, born to be a civil engineer. When the base commander arrived, a zombie horde capable of destroying the base had already been quietly eradicated. The entrance of the base was blocked with piles of zombie corpses, which I cleared away with a grand gesture, stacking them together. The countless zombie bodies formed our second wall of defense. The base commander, shocked by the scene, immediately declared that everyone had played a significant role in repelling the zombie horde and deserved commendation. However, in these apocalyptic times, there weren't exactly prizes to give away. Generously, the commander announced that each person would be rewarded with a luxurious single dormitory and 1,000 points. My eyes lit up. Eating dry biscuits every day was getting so old. I longed for the soft, sticky rice, glistening roast meat, and sweet vegetables from the cafeteria. I heard they recently introduced spicy beef brisket pot and hot pot chicken, not to mention homemade cola and ice cream. My mouth was watering. With these 1,000 points, I could eat deliciously every day. Commander, a young soldier in military uniform, leapt onto the city wall like a rabbit, panting. Our water supply has been contaminated by zombies. The land, crops, and plants are all infected with the virus. The base commander's expression darkened. The water can be purified, but the soil can't, and the crops that have grown must be discarded. The remaining food reserves at the base are not enough to sustain so many people. No more food, someone suggested. The land here is contaminated. We could bring some soil from elsewhere. Others chimed in. There are vegetable gardens nearby. Let's form a team and harvest them. The base commander shook his head gravely. That meteor shower brought viruses, supernatural abilities, and radioactive energy. Many lands and water sources have been contaminated and can't be used for drinking or planting. To restore them, it would take at least 10 or 20 years. I raised my hand, Ultraman style. I have a solution. I became a humanoid water purifier after several experiments. The water and soil stored in my space could metabolize all viruses and radioactive energy within 24 hours. The young soldier, upon receiving the test results, turned red with excitement, jumping 3 feet high like a rabbit. Great, we're saved. Our base's tens of thousands won't starve. The base commander, also thrilled, shook my hand. Comrade Rainey, having such a talent at the base is truly a fortune. The onlookers began to applaud enthusiastically. Vance bounced around in the crowd, showing off. See that? That's my sister, she's awesome, someone skeptically remarked. The plants in the land you purified are all dead. Where are we going to find ready-to-eat food now? Aren't we still going to starve? The initially excited crowd gradually calmed down. I countered. Do you have a solution? The person puffed out his chest. I have wood-based abilities. I can accelerate ripening. Several others with wood-based abilities also responded and stood up. Earlier, when rewards were being given, those with destructive abilities like wind, thunder, fire, and water were commended. Even Vance and I, with our supportive spatial abilities, had shown great merit. Only those with wood-based abilities had not been able to contribute, and they were quite resentful. Understanding this, I stepped aside and said, if you can do it, go ahead. Several confident wood-based ability users stepped forward, rubbing their hands together, and released their abilities towards a seed. I saw a seed swiftly take root, sprout, bloom, and bear fruit, turning into a large eggplant in mere moments. Then, he rapidly ripened cabbages, wheat, watermelons, tomatoes. After accelerating the growth of 5 seeds, the wood-based superpower user stopped, pale-faced, and proudly lifted his head. How about that? I applauded. Amazing. Your power drained just by speeding up 5 seeds. When will tens of thousands of us get to eat? The wood-based superpower user's face turned red. If you think you can do better, go ahead. So I did. A young man in military garb huffed and puffed as he helped me scatter the seeds across the experimental field. I stood aside, focusing my mind. A large area of the experimental field vanished. At the same time, the water level in the purification pool dropped rapidly. About 15 minutes later, a lush piece of land reappeared in our sight. It was covered with fields of golden wheat, purplish-red eggplants, green spinach, and plump watermelons. The onlooking crowd gasped, then burst into cheers. The wood-based superpower user was dumbstruck. I calmly said, "At least this level of efficiency is needed." 16. The food crisis was resolved. We found ourselves with 1,000 credits and began a life of extravagant spending. One day, after finishing an expensive hamburger and cola combo, Asher mysteriously pulled me aside to show me a trick. He took out a dry piece of wood and struck it with a bolt of lightning, causing it to smoke and ignite a small flame. Asher excitedly announced, "I've developed a fire-based superpower." I watched him speechlessly. "Congratulations, you've taken a small personal step forward, and humanity several thousand years back." Asher scratched his head, then pulled out a piece of oil-soaked paper and ignited it with lightning. "And this? It's even more efficient for starting fires." He looked at us expectantly, and Neighbor exaggeratedly exclaimed, "Wow, that'll make starting fires in the wild much easier." Vance quietly pocketed his lighter. Rock whispered to me, "Your space, if filled with earth it's earth-based, with water it's water-based, it can even be wood-based and healing-based. It's just too powerful. Even the boss feels inferior and wants to try harder." I nodded, looking into Asher's bright eyes, and finally managed to say, "Why don't you try electrolyzing water? It could also generate some hydrogen and oxygen." Asher's eyes lit up, and he immediately dragged Vance off to experiment. A young man in military garb ran up, panting, "Sister Lien, the northern base has also encountered a zombie wave, and the base was destroyed. Some academicians in biology were escorted to our base. It's about a 10-day journey, and the base commander wants you to go pick them up." I nodded. Taking the map to study, my teammates immediately gathered around, advising worriedly, "It's a long trip, be safe, and take plenty of food. Here, take some of my chips." I gladly accepted Vance's snack, devouring a large portion with satisfaction, then wiped my mouth. "I'm off." My teammates waved goodbye reluctantly. 5 minutes later, I reappeared at the same spot with the convoy. "Teammate," I chuckled, "I recently discovered that with this space superpower, I can teleport." Asher, 17. After the academics joined, they immediately began developing a vaccine for the zombie virus. The research institute was designated a top-level security zone. The base commander patted my shoulder. "Comrade Rainey, as the strongest superpower user in the base, the safety of the research institute is in your hands. Humanity isn't united. Some factions believe humans should be destroyed by zombies. Make sure none of their spies infiltrate the research institute. Wear this uniform. And even if a general comes, he needs your approval to enter." I solemnly accepted the new uniform, committed to not letting the base commander down. Becoming a proud security guard, the base transported zombie corpses to the research facility daily for the researchers to study. Dr. Barnes, who hadn't graduated in 7 years, was in charge of receiving the bodies. I was assisting on the side when suddenly, a frown creased my brow. I discovered that among the bodies, there was a living person mixed in. Upon closer inspection, I realized this was no ordinary person. He was a zombie on the verge of mutating. What a situation. It seemed they intended to wipe us all out in one fell swoop. I arrested him on the spot. The person disguised as a zombie was completely baffled and tried to explain in a flustered manner. I'm not a spy. I've been infected with the virus and I'm about to die." I heard that live dissections are most useful for research, so I thought, since my life is worthless anyway, if it could help develop a vaccine, then at least I would have been of some use. As the cosplayer began to weep bitterly, his face started to turn pale green, and his expression grew increasingly grotesque. I sighed, took a good look at him, and began to meticulously extract the virus from his blood. Little by little, the cosplayer groaned in confusion as the mutation stopped. "Dr. Barnes asked in amazement, "What did you do?" I replied, "I extracted the zombie virus." Dr. Barnes looked puzzled and asked, "You can extract the zombie virus?" I had become a human form of a separation machine. Due to the lack of scientific equipment, vaccine research was extremely challenging, and even extracting the zombie virus was difficult, but I could do it, under the intense gaze of the academicians. I skillfully used my powers to extract the virus from the zombie's blood. The academicians were utterly shocked and their expressions complex. Can abilities really achieve this? In this apocalypse, is there still a place for human technology? With my help, the academicians made rapid progress in their research. My abilities also advanced rapidly, reaching level 7, capable of compressing space. die.Barnes enthusiastically taught me a lot about the qualitative changes that occur when water is pressurized, which was quite overwhelming for me. One day, Asher met me in the cafeteria and came over excitedly to share his results on hydrogen production using his thunder-related abilities. I was having a lively discussion with die.Barnes about G proteins and chimeric vectors, while casually compressing water into metallic hydrogen. Asher walked away disheartened. Finally, under the precise calculations of the academicians and my accurate operations, we removed the protein shell of the zombie virus and transplanted the virus's DNA into the cells of mammalian animals, thus developing a safe and effective vaccine. After the infected were vaccinated, their mutations stopped, and they gradually regained consciousness. The research was a success. The entire research institute erupted into excitement. After several confirmations, we gathered everyone in the central square of the base and announced this achievement. The crowd burst into tears of joy, with cheers, screams, and applause filling the air. The base leader, holding a microphone, said excitedly, "Thank you everyone for your hard work and determination, which has brought an end to this apocalypse. Special thanks to Comrade Rainey, who has helped our base overcome numerous challenges, whether it be resisting zombie waves, solving food crises, or assisting in vaccine development. Comrade Rainey has used her wisdom to help us time and again. Now, please welcome Comrade Rainey to the stage to speak." I was prepared and began my speech with a smile. In this apocalyptic world, where biological mutations and environmental pollution abound, and new energy materials emerge, all challenge our existing technology. As we all know, in the 21st century, the most important direction for development, the most promising field, is bioenvironmental materials. I welcome everyone to apply. The audience erupted in applause as the academicians showed their appreciation. die.Barnes held my flyer advertising important representative speeches, advertisement spaces for rent, and smiled without saying a word. The square was filled with laughter and cheerful voices. Excitement and joy were evident on everyone's faces. Just then, the sky suddenly darkened. A massive spaceship descended abruptly. A group of beings with gray-green skin, large heads, and slender limbs, fitting the stereotypical image of aliens, slowly floated down from the spaceship. The aliens vibrated their vocal cords, producing strange tones. Earthlings are said to be simple and kind. "Surely, you will welcome us warmly." As they finished speaking, their gaze fell on the outskirts of the base, where hundreds of thousands of zombie corpses were piled haphazardly. The alien said, "6." As the spaceship landed, the crowd became extremely agitated, swarming towards the base's entrance to see what was happening. A soldier in uniform nervously tugged at my sleeve and whispered, "Sister, these newcomers seem hostile. Do you think you can handle them?" He gestured a throat-slitting motion with his hand across his neck. I shook my head. This spaceship, with its massive size, simply couldn't fit into the space, and these aliens, who didn't seem to be carbon-based lifeforms, wouldn't necessarily succumb to the tactics of dying from thirst, hunger, or old age if thrown into space. If we were to strike, it had to be lethal, otherwise, angering them could reveal unknown lethal weapons aboard their ship. Human faces were filled with fear. The aliens, quite satisfied, gave their commanding speech succinctly. "Earthlings, we are here to enslave you." I replied with a 6. My expression remained neutral as I secretly began manipulating space. The alien continued, "Earth boasts abundant resources, but your energy supplies have been depleted. Before we set out, we sent a gift to Earth, a core crystal, the main energy source of our planet. We've provided enough energy to sustain Earth for thousands of years, but in return, you must labor to supply us with Earth's resources." The crowd stirred. Was this meteor shower caused by these aliens? Humanity had suffered greatly, and Earth was in turmoil. We hadn't even sought explanations, and these arrogant aliens dared to make demands. The alien's inorganic voice coldly stated, "You must accept our enslavement and work for our benefit, otherwise." This ship is equipped with 50 particle cannons capable of annihilating any disobedient servant. People were furious but dared not speak. Of course, considering the fragility of carbon-based life, to prolong the lives of our slaves, you are entitled to 16 hours of rest each day and a day off after every 2 days of work. The crowd suddenly fell silent. This seemed better than labor laws. People exchanged glances. Feeling that perhaps it wasn't unacceptable, someone ingratiatingly said, Esteemed alien lord, please come this way. The alien was very pleased and added, as your masters, we will provide you with the essentials for survival, water and food, along with many high-protein, low-fat delicious foods. You earthlings are fortunate. The alien lord was surprisingly humane. Could it be the legendary nutritional supplements? People craned their necks to see as the spaceship's door opened, releasing countless black creatures. They moved at incredible speed, reaching us in the blink of an eye. To our horror, they were giant cockroaches, a meter long. The crowd screamed in terror and scattered. The alien was very pleased. Look how much they love this gift. Even the usually reserved earthlings are dancing with joy. Caught off guard by a cockroach to the face, I briefly lost control of the space, and then, after several days of continuous activity, a giant mushroom cloud suddenly exploded, blinded by a bright flash and momentarily deafened. When the dust settled, only wreckage remained of the aliens and their spaceship. Dr. Barnes wiped his face and asked dazedly, "What just happened?" I stuttered. "The water in the compressed space. I accidentally released it." A fellow academician also said dazedly, "You've achieved controlled nuclear fusion. Rainey's ability is truly the pinnacle of this apocalyptic era." I looked at the smoke-filled ground. This ability was a bit mad.